And the call meeting to order at 6:01. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was given in a revised annual meeting notice, which was emailed to the Herald News, Record, Office of the County Clerk, and posted on the PCCC website and bulletin boards on June 15th, 2023.
Thank you, Dr. Rose. Roll call.
Alumni Rep White.
Here.
Thank you. Trustee Octor. Absent. Trustee Draper, absent. Trustee Diaz-Denay. Trustee Moody is absent. Trustee Nutter. Harvey, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Trustee Poe is present. Trustee Ramirez.
Present.
Trustee Smith.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Chair Towns is absent. Chairman Marco.
Good. The first order of business will be consideration of the minutes, but only going to take corrections. If there are any
No.
corrections.
No, we can do it now. We have
Oh, we
a
can do it now.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh,
I didn't know we had.
a little order. That's okay.
Sorry.
All right. So, all the board members have the minutes in their binders. Are there any corrections to the minutes of May 16th, 2023? Hearing none. We have a motion to approve the resolution number 1.
So moved.
Minutes.
Trustee Smith, Trustee Diaz-Denay. Trustee Octor is absent. Trustee Draper is absent. Trustee Diaz-Denay.
Yes.
Is absent. Trustee Nutter. Trustee Nutter on the motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Poe is present. Trustee Ramirez.
Abstain, I wasn't present.
That's fine. Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Chairman Marco.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Okay, let me introduce someone who needs no introduction to this group, Professor Beryl Skil, who will introduce our topic of this evening.
Should I stand? Please the best.
Probably right there.
Here, right
Yep.
Hi. So
Right now.
let me introduce myself. I'm Professor Beryl Siegel. I'm the chair of the CIS and Engineering Department. And I'm here to introduce a group of students and my faculty who are here to talk about the Princeton Hackathon that they attended. Let me make it clear that a hackathon is not about hacking. It's the old programming contest that we used to have years ago that students you would participate in updated. And so that's really what this is about, programming contest. They call it the Princeton Hackathon. It's at Princeton University, obviously. Anyway, let me introduce my faculty who took the students and really worked with them. Professor John Rodriguez and Professor Jonathan Mazur.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Rodriguez from the CIS department, and it's my pleasure to be here today to introduce some of our students and have them talk about their experience at a hackathon. As Professor Siegel mentioned, a hackathon is really creative problem solving. And it was an amazing experience to be able to bring our students once more to these events. A little bit of the history, we started bringing students to the hackathon around 2015. If I remember correctly, me and Professor Cameron. Professor Mainzer was also there as a mentor at the time through STEM at the school. And we've brought several groups of students several times, and we had students win in certain hackathons in CCM, Montclair. We've gone to some happened at companies like ATD and ACM as well. So a few different places that we been through. So we had to stop a little bit during the COVID times, of course, but then we had the pleasure to redo it the past semester. It's a great experience for the students because they have different workshops and activities that they can do while at the competition.
So after COVID was done, Tyler Van Buren, a student, came up to me and said, "Hey, do we have a computer club here?" I said, "Well, no, because all the clubs kind of dispersed at COVID." So he's now the founder of the Computer Technology Club, and we wanted to go to hackathon. So we're looking around for an in-person hackathon because everyone had been stuck inside for forever. And Princeton University had a hackathon. So we got to them. And we went, and we were a majority of the students there. We got invited back, and they'll tell you more about that. And we've also been, a couple of the students went to Montclair University Hackathon as well, which they'll talk about today. But I would like to introduce the students that can come up, talk more about your experiences.
May I share the screen of the?
Sure.
Everyone, my name is Tyler Van Buren, I'm a computer science in PCCC. We're transferring to Montclair. I'm a computer science program next fall. As Professor Mixer said, I founded the club on campus. I served as the first acting president.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yahya El-Zouredi. I am a computer science student transferring to Montclair. I served as the second president for the Computer Technology Club, and currently I'm part of the IT asset management at JP Morgan Chase.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Francisco Polanco. I am a web dev major here at PCCC. I am currently in the midst of transferring after my graduation to NJIT for computer engineering.
Hi, everyone. My name is Swapnil Dave, and I'm a computer science major here at PCCC, and I'm transferring to NJIT this fall, and I was among the winners at Princeton.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Daniel Plog. I recently completed the computer science program here at PCCC, and I also work in Hamilton Hall as a tutor for the computer science department. And along with Swapnil, Tyler, and Needy, I was part of the award-winning team at Princeton.
And Tyler.
I said Tyler, didn't I? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello, I'm Needy Patel. I'm a computer science student and one of the at Princeton winner, which was my first.
Lastly, my name is Julio Ramos. I'm a computer science technology major, well, a CIS major here, but I'm planning to major in web dev when I go into my 4-year school. Hopefully, it's in Montclair. Hopefully, let's see how that goes. But yeah, I'm the acting president so far right now for the computer science technology club until this semester starts over again. And it was a real pleasure serving these guys. Real good pleasure, you know what I mean? It's stage right.
Great.
So hackathon is a programming competition that challenges students to create a software that solves the given prompt. Hack Princeton was a 36 hours long event from Friday to Sunday, and they provided dorms for us.
One of the key takeaways from a hackathon is developing management skills. So at a hackathon, you were given a certain topic. Well, we had 5 tracks at Princeton, so we needed to pick up a topic from one of the tracks and had to brainstorm about the topic, come up with a pre-plan, have a solid outline of how the project's going to be. And once we had everything, we started assigning roles to everyone. Basically, people picked up roles where they were comfortable in. So I picked up a web dev role. Tyler and Dan worked on the back end, and Needy was helping me with the web dev and presentation.
So yeah, once you get everything planned out, then the real fun starts. You actually implement your project, or as well as we have on the screen, execute development. That's the bulk of the work. And you generally have at a hackathon between 24 and 48 hours. 72 hours possibly. And really, that's just a lot of kind of crunch culture, a lot of staying up all night eating junk food, wearing sweatpants, that kind of thing. So yeah, not a ton of sleep to be had, but that's how you have to get things done under circumstances like that. So then at the end of the grueling 24 hours of staying awake, you then have to give a demonstration. They have judges for the various tracks, as Swapnel touched on. There were 5 tracks. Our project was mostly geared around sustainability. So we spoke with judges that were more tailored toward that type of project. We gave a presentation, I think, to 3 judges, right? And yeah, they asked us, one judge was from the sponsor. He asked us about the specifics of how we implemented his technology into our project. Another one was the former president of the Princeton Technology or Entrepreneurship Club. Thank you. And the 3rd judge, he was thorough. I'm not sure exactly what his background is, but he very thoroughly went through almost line by line of our project. So it varies the different kind of scrutiny your project will be under. And yeah, that's pretty much kind of the time frame of what happens.
So on top of speaking with judges, you're also getting the opportunity of partnering up with actually other students at Princeton or the students that you have met at your college here. Gracefully enough, outside of meeting with students, we were able to connect and network with sponsors there. Wire being one of my favorites. They gave us a little bit more instruction on the APIs that they have, as well as that they gave us a little bit more opportunity when it comes to getting a job with them or even an internship.
So during our time, we formed a relationship with Princeton, our club. So we have guaranteed spots for the students at the next hackathons. So there's no questions asked. We're able to get students in for every upcoming Princeton hackathon. At the previous 2 hackathons we attended, we bused roughly 50 students to the event. We ended up making about 1/4 of their total attendees. So they were very happy about that. Yeah, so we ended up getting a lot of recognition both from Princeton and the corporate sponsors, and many people at Princeton, the faculty and the students, they now know our college by name because there were just so many of us. You know, you walk into a room, it would be all PCCC students.
Yeah, we were the only community college who won.
We also were, yes, the only community college
Really?
there.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so as you can see here, so I want to give a special thanks to Yeki El-Zaradi, who's right here, and Axara Lane. These 2 are initial sponsors, initial ambassadors to Princeton. They did a lot of the emailing, a lot of the scheduling for the first event we had. Without them, it wouldn't be possible.
A lot of hard work.
That covers it.
So preparing a student, community college student for it could be one of their first experience at a hackathon. One of the things that I focused on during my residency term was making workshops that will cover the vast majority of the technical skills that our students would require so that they can complete at the same level, if not more, as the other attendees. Some of the workshops that we have made at the club were about LinkedIn, the platform for work, and as source controlling technology as well, GitHub, how to use APIs, which is something that was covered through the hackathon by the sponsors.
The 2 groups presenting, my group, me, Dan, Edie, and Swapnil, and then Yeki and Brian.
So our project, Brian.
So me and his project on our hackathon was does it stand?
Yes.
So with our project, what it was to bring light to the earthquakes that are happening around the world. Originally what our topic was based on.
It was based on the earthquakes that happened a couple months ago in Turkey and Syria. The idea was there were too many buildings fallings, and that was the main cause of human casualties. So for 2 hours of tough brainstorming, me and Brian came with the idea, how does it stand? Basically, does it stand is a machine learning model that takes properties of buildings, material that was built in, compare it with other buildings that fell, and start making a probability if the building is going to fall in an event of earthquake or not, based on the historical data provided to it. Yes.
So with the solution or. So with the solution that we did come up with, we did have a AI, the Yakia did make from scratch. And with the AI had what was the percentage?
75%
So-
accuracy.
It had a 75% accuracy of letting you know whether or not if a building will collapse. What we did have is that if the building, yes, were to collapse, we would install reinforcements on it. Add supports, add any sense of anything to basically stop the building from falling. During there, I don't know if they have it during the slides, we went over a little bit something called the pancake effect, and it explained why most of the buildings did fall. That's just our main focus of what we focused on. And and then anything that would say no, we practically left it alone at that, but we didn't leave it without having a look at it.
Yes, specialized look by maybe some civil engineer as a future idea for the project itself, as a verification system in case the 20%, the 25% happen for the error percentage. Yeah. Thank you.
This is the project my team did, me, Swap, Mill, and Dan. This was a project called Waterproof. And our idea was to address accountability in the water supply. Most people don't really know the quality of the water, it's not publicly ready information. So we did, we took our Arduino sensors, and these sensors could look at the pH of the water, and it would submit a report to a blockchain, which is an immutable public record. We made a front-end website people can log on to and see the quality of the water in real time that's being collected from the Arduino sensor.
We also had a feature where you could actually enter your phone number and your area. I know it sounds scary, entering your phone number, but trust me. When you enter your phone number and your area code, it's gonna send you a message whenever the water pH is too high or too low, wanting you to not drink water from the tap directly. So yeah, that was one of the features that was admired by the third judge, who was very analytical with us, and he seemed to know everything that we were talking about. So it was a fun experience explaining to them.
Yeah, really, my role in the project was to help with the back end and really make sure we were able, like our project consists of, I would say, probably 3 major components. You have the Arduino sensor, you have the back end, and then you have the front end. And probably what I mostly helped with was just making sure the information was able to be handled by each of those systems.
So this was a project I did at Montclair's hackathon. This was after Princeton. And because I had the experience, I soloed this project on myself. This was done within 8 hours out of 24 that was given to me. So the problem they gave us was mental health. And what I made was a little chat bot, has a few graphics. And what it does, you give it a prompt, and it takes in that prompt and uses a natural language processing algorithms to look at a database of inspirational quotes and give you an inspirational quote that best matches the prompt you give it. So you can see here in the screenshot, the prompt is "work is killing me." There's the only way to do great work is to love what you do. And this isn't a chat bot the same way ChatGPT is. Very simple. It was done in just a few hours. All it does is looking at this keyword and matching it up to other weighted words. Obviously, we have work and work here. And I got second best in the solo category.
That you won.
Oh, yeah, so this project too at Princeton, we won best use of blockchain.
Yeah.
Also after winning, after coming back to college, we received an email from the CEO of WorldWire, and they actually reached out to do some workshops in our college.
Excellent, very good.
Very great.
So that's what our students in the Computer Technology Club have been up to for the past year or so. We think these types of experiences are very important for them because it allows them to experience the real environment and a similar environment to the real working world for them. So thank you for having us today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask us.
And I'd like to especially thank John and Jonathan, because you spent the 36 hours with the students at Princeton. So thank you. Good job.
Pretty impressive campus there, isn't it? I mean, it's no PCCC, but
We actually took some time to walk around, because we went to go get some snacks from Wawa. Campus is beautiful.
Wow. You know,
that's one of the best campuses in the world, you know, so you're,
oh, yeah,
that's not your normal college campus, but.
it was like walking, you know, on Hogwarts, man.
They call it a chapel, but it looks more like a cathedral.
Yeah.
Let me say, it was close to PCCC, what PCCC.
And you know, they have quite a bit fewer students than we do.
Oh, yes.
You know that,
Only a few thousand undergrads.
yeah, so we're bigger than they are. Yes. Yeah. But that is quite a campus. Great job, everybody.
Thank you.
Yay.
All right. Keep going, yep, let me just quickly, tonight we have the proposed fiscal year 2024 tuition and fee schedule. On the agenda, we have to do a little public hearing on it later. So this is the first time in 4 years we have recommended increasing tuition. It certainly, I think 1 year before the pandemic, we didn't raise tuition. Then the pandemic came, and it was certainly not the right time or appropriate time to raise tuition when everybody was struggling. So we are recommending an increase this year. It will bring us from 177 to 183 per credit. That's the main one. Which, you know, certainly I believe, you know, we never like to raise tuition, but we need to pay the bills. And this is one of the ways that can help us do that. You know, the good news is through our foundation, we have continued to do a good job raising money, adding scholarships. So, you know, I feel very confident that any students who would be negatively impacted by this increase, we're going to be able to help. And, you know, financial aid, those students who are on financial aid, that will automatically cover them for this. So we recommend this tuition and fee schedule to you, and Stephen and I are happy to answer any questions about it, but a lot of thought went into it, you know. All right, Mike, you wanna introduce this one? Or on top of it than anybody?
Oh, I don't know about that, but
Yeah.
sure. So you'll recall earlier this year that the board approved a contract with Schneider Electric to start working on an energy savings improvement plan. They've done a lot of work on this. We've met with them monthly for the last, 3, 4, 5 months. Losing track of time, they've been around the campus, one end to the other, all the campuses. Brian has probably worn out a pair of shoes walking them around. And so now they've reached the point in the process where they have the outline of a plan. Now, in order to go forward to what is the next step, be for them to generate a firm proposal that would be a price that would be locked in. We need to approve the second step, which once we move forward with this, if they generate something, we don't go with it, we're on the hook for 2% of the hard cost, which will be shown in just a minute by Dan. We're very optimistic, and by we, I'm talking about Dr. Rose, Vice President Hardy, Vice President Wiggins himself, and Vice President Colvin is also on this. I'm sorry. That this is something that we're going to want to go forward with, if not the whole process, a good chunk of it. And so Dan from Schneider is going to bring you up to speed as to where we are, and then I'm sure he'll take questions. So Dan,
do you prefer to take questions as I go, save them to the end? What's the
that's up to you.
Okay, up to you guys. If you'd like to interrupt, please feel free. If not, you know, we could take them at the end. But thank you for the great intro, Mike. As he mentioned, we've been working with the college really in depth since about January, developing this project. We would say we're about midway through. Yeah, no problem. Oh yeah. Sorry, I didn't share that. Yep. Should be. Actually, I think it's the other window. Yeah, try that one. And you can hit Shift F5, or if you can. There you go. Cool. Yeah, so we've been working through this process for about 6 months now. I think the intent is these are really our midterm results. We're still developing the project and getting feedback, but more or less we presented some preliminary estimates for the project. We've gotten feedback from the whole administrative team, and we're looking to whittle that down. So this is mostly intended to be educational, to provide the trustees with what the potential scope is of the project, what the potential financial impact is to the college, to ultimately hopefully decide to proceed with the process and us being able to finalize really a shovel-ready project over the next few months. So with that, going to talk a little bit about how we got to this point, what some of the goals are for the project, and what some of the impact areas are, from infrastructure to educational impact, talk about financials, and then what the next steps would be. So by way of an introduction, again, I'm Dan. I've been with Schneider for about 12 years, working pretty much exclusively with public entities in New Jersey. So community colleges, schools, municipalities, doing these types of projects. So if you haven't heard of Schneider, we're a very large company. We do all different types of things, but focus a lot on public infrastructure. So helping different public entities, like I mentioned, be able to replace outdated systems, become more efficient, reduce energy costs. That's really what we do day in and day out. And the way we typically operate in New Jersey is under what they call the the Energy Savings Improvement Program, right? So this is a process that was set up by the state of New Jersey. It's run by the Board of Public Utilities as kind of the authority or agency. So really they have kind of their own process and set of rules and regulations that we need to follow, and in turn the college needs to follow to develop these sorts of projects. But really the intent was to be able to give public entities a way to finance improvements and try and reduce their costs. So this is just really a simple delineation of how the process works. Right now, we're kind of in this investment grade audit or project development phase, which is ultimately about determining what the scope of work will be. From there, implementation really involves construction. And I think the main thing to highlight there is it's what's known as design build. For anyone who's kind of familiar with construction, a lot of traditional construction is you have an architect or engineer, you come up with a design or a set of drawings, and then you bid that out to contractors. So you kind of have the design side, and then you have the build side, which is usually executed by one or multiple contractors. So this is a little bit different. It's referred to as, design build, where really you have kind of one company who's accountable from the beginning to the end. So we're doing kind of this upfront development and analysis, the engineering, kind of working with the college to come up with a scope of work, and then we're responsible for everything thereafter. So it's really, you have one company that's kind of taking ownership of it, where we would then hire subcontractors, and we would really be responsible for not just the design aspect of it, but the building of it. And then typically we have some commissioning and a performance guarantee, a savings guarantee, because a lot of the focus is on driving real budgetary savings for the college. So I wanted to mention that because it's a little bit different than typical construction, where it really is, a partnership. We've obviously spent a lot of time with the staff in developing this project, but we take a lot of pride in really trying to take ownership and do a good job when we are actually implementing. So a couple things in here as far as just the state process. Once we are done over the next few months, assuming we continue, there are a couple kind of checks and balances, you could say, within the state process, where the college would have to hire a third-party engineering firm or consultant who would act as a reviewer of our proposal. We have kind of a standard set of deliverables we need to provide. So that would go to the college's third-party consultant or engineer. And then once we kind of work through everything with them, we would then send it to the BPU, the State Energy Office. So there is kind of a process that needs to be followed to verify before construction, and then after construction to make sure we did, more or less what we said. So a lot of different things went into this. Don't need to go through all of it, but again, a lot of time with Brian Egan, with his staff, with really all the administration, understanding the facilities, the needs, the issues that we could hopefully help the college address. And then also going through facility master plan, talking to the architect, going through the utility bills, but ultimately trying to figure out, what projects might make sense for the college. So this is, again, another list of all the different people that we had spoken with, met with, often multiple times to try and get input on, what might be valuable scopes of work for the college. So yeah, just kind of level setting as far as the goals. Like, again, I think the intent is helping the college reduce operational costs, being able to fund a lot of the older infrastructure that may be beyond its useful life on this campus, but also at the other campuses. Looking at some of the new programs that the college is creating and offering, trying to find ways that we can support some of those. And then in general, just improving, lighting quality or indoor air quality within some of the buildings was a big goal. And certainly sustainability as well, trying to figure out, can we help the college, reduce the carbon footprint. So really, a lot of what we looked at, I'm not going to go through everything. Certainly the group has gotten the administration, a fuller level of detail, and please ask questions, if you see anything that sparks a curiosity, but really everything we're looking at falls into one of these three buckets: either cost savings, opportunities for the college, infrastructure needs, things that are already on the facility master plan, maybe some things that already have a Chapter 12 budget allocated, and then just any other kind of general campus improvements that we might identify as we go. So as an example, one of the largest savings opportunities and really revenue opportunities for the college that we saw was on-site solar PV. You've probably seen it at some other colleges across the state, as well as other buildings as you go along. But now is really a good time for this, partly based on the different incentives that are available, not just from the state of New Jersey, but now from the federal government and from the utilities. So also, a lot of the roofing is currently being redone to where you're going to have a brand new roof, which is really a great place to put solar. So looking at the rooftop for the Wanacue facility, there's an opportunity to really offset pretty much 100% of what that building uses on an annual basis with on-site solar PV, which is definitely a big win. There's a number of other opportunities that we have on the table as far as replacing some of the rooftop units, which I know is a priority for the facilities team, and trying to do so in a way where we can get additional incentive dollars where the utility is actually helping to pay for some of those mechanical needs. So big opportunity there. There's also kind of a secondary opportunity that's a little bit different, that might be more of a benefit to the county. So in New Jersey, when you're doing solar, typically you can't produce more than what your building is going to use. So once you get to 100%, there are still a lot of potential parking lots or maybe some ground space that has been discussed for I think maybe even a couple of years now by the college, that could be an opportunity for a different solar program called remote net metering or community solar, or kind of a utility scale project. So this would be something where the college could potentially get an additional lease payment or source of revenue to provide savings to another public entity offsite, such as Passaic County. So a little bit outside of the scope of kind of the financials, but an opportunity to try and create more clean energy and provide a revenue source for the college. Again, a similar example at public safety, and I'm not going to go through all the buildings here, but you can basically produce all of what the building uses, take advantage of some of the incentives through the state for some of the HVAC systems, change all the lighting to LED, so it's using about a third of what it's using now, and also have a parking canopy, so covered parking, solar system that would actually offset some of what gets used on the Patterson campus. So again, a lot of different opportunities that we're looking at, and I'm not going to walk through all of these because they start to get a little bit redundant, but we more or less have been working with with Brian and with the architect to try and understand, what are the different roof conditions on campus. It's obviously an urban environment here, so it's a little bit more difficult, but there still are, a good amount of areas that are available with roofs that are either brand new, close to new that could be potential solar installations. Just working through some of the details to make sure that that all passes kind of the feasibility assessment. One other big priority that we heard from the administration was the heating and cooling infrastructure, really for this building and for Founders. The boiler and chiller that are in the belly of the building or in the basement, are really kind of beyond their useful life. They've been well maintained, so you're kind of getting that extended usage out of those systems, but they really are in need of replacement as far as just the life cycle of it, and not a simple or cheap project, so to speak. So this project would be a way to capitalize on some of the savings that are coming from things like LED lighting or solar, and be able to help use those funds to pay for these bigger projects like the boilers and the chillers, which the college has been setting aside Chapter 12 funding for, but as many of you know, a lot of costs have been going up, so it's difficult to necessarily get everything done within some of those budgets, based on kind of the direction a lot of projects have been heading. And I'll kind of keep moving here quickly. Again, thinking about like some of the educational impacts, the college is working on a solar trainer certification program. So we've been, trying to support some of the staff there in, different ways we can support that through, trying to help find instructors, trying to help partner, those with other employers like Schneider or other solar companies who are very much in need of workers right now. There's definitely a labor shortage in a lot of our industry. So, looking at actually putting solar on top of the firehouse building so that, there's a way that, perhaps students can kind of see how it works in the facility, as they're learning about how to go install these types of systems. So, a lot of different things that we may be able to support along those lines in terms of, helping make the program, kind of marketable to different students and employers as well, because that's obviously a desired outcome, for your students. Another kind of kickoff event that we had brainstormed was basically doing a workshop building, mini microgrids. So basically taking a cohort of students, doing kind of a launch event, building, solar plus battery deployable, charging stations. So if there's an emergency, there's a fleet of these systems that can more or less help people charge their phones and different things. So a number of different things around kind of just branding and trying to help the college promote, the good things that are going on campus, as far as improvements and basically just community awareness. So leave this as just, different ways that we can hopefully help continue to market positive things that the college is doing for the community and for students. So talking real quickly on, some of the number side, this is really the scope. As far as, financials, we really looked at a lot of different potential needs that the college has, a lot which is on kind of the Chapter 12 or facility master plan, more or less estimated upwards of $30 million of potential needed projects at some point, which is obviously, a very large number. We met with the college and they kind of helped us whittle that down to what were the highest priorities. So basically taking, that $30 million list, turning it into, really 15 million of what would be the highest priority projects, and, leveraging some of the savings opportunities that would help pay for it. So, we've got kind of a more detailed list of the different projects and priorities for the college, kind of broken into what are the capital needs on the top, and then what are really the savings opportunities, the revenue generators on the bottom, which in this case was really around the solar, solar projects at each of those sites, which, as you can, see, generates potentially a very significant amount of both revenue and savings for.
Go back to the one, just let's emphasize that.
Yeah. Yes. And we'll, I'll kind of zoom out and emphasize it a little bit more. So overall of kind of everything we've looked at and identified, and again, we don't have really a final scope of work. I think we've, provided some budgetary estimates and helped kind of narrow it in. We're not asking for like a final decision of, hey, let's go do this project. it's really, let's authorize finalizing, coming back with, really turnkey cost numbers for the college to decide, what do you guys want to do, right? So this is still preliminary, but overall, potentially $18 million total potential investment. The cost of the college would be less than that because really about 25% would be paid for through different incentive programs. So the federal incentive for solar, a lot of the state incentives for LED lighting and HVAC, that would cover, nearly $5 million, potentially more than $5 million, but we kind of narrowed the project down, but really a large amount of funding that would come outside of the college's budget. Obviously, a lot of these projects have already been allocated through the Chapter 12 process. So this would be a way to, clear some of the list of what those budgets are and what kind of the projects are that are high priority needs. But again, to Dr. Rose's point, a big opportunity for savings and revenue. So really nearly $1 million per year in potential savings. And a lot of that, yeah, a lot of that coming from the solar. You guys are really in a good time right now because the incentives from the state are still very high. The federal government just kind of added their incentive program where they would pay 30 to 40%, depending on if you're in Patterson or if you're at Wanacue, a good amount of the cost of those projects. And yeah, really kind of the intent is to be able to help the college fund a lot of these needs and do it in a way where you're not encumbering anymore on the college's budget, right? We're using either money that was budgeted, money from a third-party source like these other incentive programs, or savings within the budget, right? Areas where we're reducing electric costs, natural gas costs, or perhaps some other kind of ancillary maintenance costs that the college sees. So, I mean, that's really in a nutshell. Again, I think a lot of benefits to, try and take a pretty big bite out of the college's, capital needs that are going to be coming over the next decade. And then, this ancillary project that I mentioned. So I'll stop there and hopefully take your guys' questions.
So Dan, just to recap that.
Yeah.
What you've done to this point is really just come up with a general, you've identified projects that might work for us in terms of a benefit, cost benefit analysis. But you haven't put a real fine point on it yet. And that would be the next step.
Correct.
To come with a firm, this is the work to be done. This is the cost to you. Say yes, and we'll do it for this project.
And these are the savings that you.
Yes. Yep. And then we're obligated, and it's, most projects we offer and provide like a guarantee to that as well. So it's not just, hey, here's the final numbers, but here's an optional guarantee agreement where we would, measure and verify those savings, for the first year, for the first 3 years. So it's, this really, preliminary estimates. I think some of the stuff we're pretty far along, but it's kind of like the 80-20 rule where, 20% of the effort gets you 80% of the way there. That last little bit takes a little bit more time. And that's not the exact percentage, but I think you get my gist that this is to take it to final scope and final pricing for you all to make a decision.
So you've been working on this for the last 5 or 6 months or so. Assuming the board gives the green light, what's the timeline going forward?
Timeline going forward, probably another 2 to 3 months to, come back with what we would consider our 80 to 90% to kind of help the college whittle down. And then usually the state review process is between the third party and the Board of Public Utilities, 30 to 60 days, maybe 45 to 60 days to be conservative. So, call it August, September, coming back with, mostly final, and then 2 months of reviews and, the college digesting and making decisions kind of in a parallel path. So I think the goal would be, kind of in that October to November timeframe, maybe December, finalizing a scope of work to where, we finish the engineering and we're able to start bidding things out, beginning of the year.
So when you reach that 80-90% mark, at that point, it gets reviewed by BPU and or a third party reviewer?
Yeah, so third party first, and then once that's complete, BPU.
Right. Yeah. And when is the number set in stone?
Really at that point, unless there's like a significant delay, but really we haven't changed our prices based on delays. So really the numbers would be set, next time we come back with numbers, they more or less would be set in stone. You know, we would want to make sure we understand like, hey, you know, do we think we can finalize in the next 60 days so we can start ordering equipment, or 90 days? So like, we kind of want to know that, but really the intent is next time we're providing numbers, they're more or less final, unless, you know, you want us to tweak things, right? And then we'll massage the scope or whatever and get it to where it needs to be.
And so, as we've discussed in committees, part of the funding for this is gonna come probably from some kind of borrowing through the Improvement Authority or someplace else. How much time in that time frame you've just given us does that fit in?
So there's different options. I mean, you can kind of start the financing process, you know, either during the reviews or immediately thereafter.
Okay.
So typically we'll start the conversations, like, you know, once you guys feel good about the project and the scope of work, you know, we can start talking to PCIA or the financial advisors, bond councils. You know, some folks want to wait until it's, you know, more or less final, but usually it's kind of a parallel path in there, talking about the financing.
Very good.
And we've already started preliminary conversations with the PCIA.
Yeah.
So, and they're certainly interested.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, what other questions?
Anybody?
Good. Yeah, and look, I'll just, you know, how we got here is, you know, a couple of, probably almost a year ago, we presented our strategic plan to you. And one of the major items in our strategic plan is we need to find a way, number one, sustainability for the college in terms of, you know, we need to develop some other revenue sources. And one way to do that is obviously here, you know, if we can save $800,000, $500,000, $1 million out of the budget each year by investing capital funds that will generate operating savings, you know, that's a grand slam for us. You know, so, you know, even if we have to go to the Passaic County Improvement Authority and borrow some money, if the savings exceed what we borrow, you're in good shape in terms of doing that. So, you know, looking at when we come each year to present our budget to you, if we can, you know, we spend about $1.3 million, if I remember correctly, on utilities a year or something like that.
All inclusive, about 1.6.
Yeah, 1.6, 1.7.
So when you heard, you know, we could get Waddington down to zero. We could get this one down to zero in terms of electric, and you could start doing that. It's, you know, it would be wrong for us not to do this. So that's why, you know, we're bringing this to you tonight to recommend just going to the next step. This is not involving technically spending any money at this point. This is just taking to the next start that we're on the hook for 2%.
2% of their developed hard costs.
Right. We have
Don't go through with that.
We have not paid them anything yet.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
This is all been on them up to this point.
Yeah,
Which is
and I
how
almost
this process works.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I almost forgot to get to my last slide, just kind of clarifying, you know, that 2% again, which would be really if we get to the end of this process and, you know, let's call it 3 months, and the college says, no, we don't want to do anything. That's really when this kind of 2% or about 266,000 would kick in as really just a way for us to recoup, you know, a lot of development and engineering costs that we'd sunk. So that, you know, otherwise, you know, our cost structure is, you know, within the construction contract, and that's, you know, that's all laid out in the pricing forms. But that's really, I think, you know, the ask is to keep going to this next phase for us to finalize where there is that, you know, potential termination clause. But I think, you know, the intent is to hopefully move forward with something at the end that is beneficial to the college.
You know, the project that has a savings of $1 million a year is not contingent on the county project, the net metering.
No, so that would be separate financials. I didn't include that in the financial analysis. So that's a separate potential. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is a lot here.
Yeah, no.
You know, they took, you know, it was pretty much been, dozens of hours of conversation we've had, got it down to this presentation, which did a great job of
Thank you.
getting it nice and succinct. So that's where we are tonight.
Any other questions?
So, very good.
All right,
Thank you, Dan.
thank you, Emma.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, so we got other purposes of goods and services tonight. If there's any questions, happy to answer any of them about. So I think it's all pretty self-explanatory there. Yes, we can.
Okay, so at this time, the board will hold a public hearing on tuition and fee schedule for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. All those wishing to address the board shall step forward, give their name and address for speaking. Does anyone wish to be heard? No one wishes to be heard. Then there being no one to address the board. Without objection, the public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2022. No, 23-24, yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
The public hearing is closed.
The hearing is closed. Okay. We have a motion to adopt resolution number 3, which is a consent resolution items as set forth. Business items, investment grade audit, phase 2, and there will be a separate vote on the personnel items.
Right.
Move it.
Second.
I'm sorry, we need to.
Roll.
Oh, wait, we need, hold on one
Yeah.
second. We need somebody.
Are we getting that?
Again.
You would know if it's those or not.
Yeah, it's not dancing there.
We had to do this in here or something.
No. Trustee Post coming back.
All right.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
All right, so who moved it?
It was,
Okay, a second?
I second Mr. Walker.
Very good. Okay. So on the consent resolution for the business agenda and the resolution on investment grade audit phase 2. Steve absent. Trustee Diaz-Denay.
Yes.
Trustee Nutter. Yes. Trustee Poe is present.
Hi, I just got on. Can you just please let me know what we're voting on?
Absolutely. We're voting on the consent resolution, which is the purchase of goods and services and the resolution approving phase 2 of the investment grade audit.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. We're gonna have one more vote after this, Trustee Poe. Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Chairman Walker.
yes.
Okay, that one is approved. So now we need a motion on the personnel.
Okay, motion on the personnel items. Motion to approve that. Second.
Trustee Smith or Trustee Nutter, would you care to?
Second.
Very good. Okay, so on the personnel agenda, Trustee Diaz-Denay.
Yes.
Trustee Nutter. Trustee Nutter on the personnel agenda?
Can you hear me?
Now I can, go ahead.
Oh, yes.
Very good. Trustee Poe,
Yes.
you? Trustee Ramirez,
Abstain.
thank you. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Marco.
Yes.
Adopted.
All right,
All right.
finish her up.
Finish it up, okay, all right, let's see. Are there any remarks from the public? No. Are there any remarks from the trustees?
Yes, I'd like to make one, please. Yesterday evening, I know we all wear different hats. And yesterday evening, I was on a Zoom meeting where I wore the hat as the chairperson of the Walter D. Head Scholarship. No, let me get the title right. The Rotary District 7490 Walter D. Head Foundation Scholarship Chairperson Emeritus. That's a mouthful. And much to my surprise, one of the applicants that interviewed with us became very emotional when she began to speak to the beauty of receiving a community college education. And she spoke to how sometimes community colleges get a bad rap. And then she delineated all of the phenomenal opportunities that she received while she was in community college. She now is a student at NJIT. She's an electrical engineering major, and I'm really trying not to cry. She is a member of Phi Theta Kappa and a graduate of 2022 of the Passaic County Community College. Her name is Ms. Raven John, and she now has joined the cohort of esteemed scholars. She is now the recipient of the Rotary District 7490 Walter D. Head Scholarship. And I just want to say thank you, salutations, and heads up to Dr. Gasparino and the entire Passaic County Community College family. Thank you.
Let me tell you some even better news. Her sister is starting here in September, who is just graduating from PCTI. So she has a younger sister who is even more of a dynamo than she is. So wait till you see this one.
Personal privilege as the chair. I want to thank Mike for the thank you to the trustees.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank everyone for. Yeah, very nice, and I appreciate everything.
You're welcome. And also a gentle reminder to the board members, you can send a check in for the PCC Foundation ad journal that we put in a full page again. I want to thank everybody. We've got 100% participation, second year in a row. And just
and the event was a rousing success.
Yeah, I wish I could.
I know.
So I had to be a caregiver then.
It was great.
All right, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second.
Trustee Ianna.
Yes.
Trustee Nutter. Is that a yes, Arden? Thank you. Trustee Poe.
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Marco.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
99.
Brad, right? Yeah.